If you were to take a god and their entire familia from the anime, is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon and pit them in a fight against the original mythological version of that god? Who would win? With the second core of Danmachi's 4th season currently airing, I gathered some of the most prominent gods in Orario to battle against themselves to settle once and for all this incredibly important life-altering issue. As a quick overview, the different gods and goddesses in Danmachi are loosely based on their classical depictions in cultures around the world. Now this may be a hot take, but in order to become anime characters in a completely different universe, they are not accurate depictions of these gods. Generally, the gods in Danmachi have powers that are weaker yet more clearly defined than the original, so I am including the various Familia, which actually use a portion of their patron god's divine power anyway, to fight alongside them in this hypothetical scenario. But before we get into that, you should subscribe. In mythology, Hestia is typically shown with a modest head veil, tending to the sacred hearth within Olympus. In Danmachi, Hestia is typically shown with a modest plot thread, charge tackling any woman that gets within a 2-meter radius of Bel Cranal. Despite the differences in outward behavior, both Hestias prefer to stay out of quarrels with other gods and have a strong sense of responsibility as goddesses of the hearth, giving them a high level of respect from their peers. However, due to Hestia descending to the lower world in the anime, her access to this divine flame in heaven is reduced and requires an altar to be prepared first for her to use abilities related to it. She also has an ability called Divine Perception, which allows her to see through lies and pick up on small details quickly. Although the mythological version of Hestia does not have designated powers from the hearth, it is highly likely that she retains a stronger connection to the sacred flame, considering that she is always on Olympus. They also both had the famously overpowered ability of being a virgin. In Greek mythology, Hestia refused both Poseidon and Apollo's attempts at marriage, while the Hestian Danmachi is actively trying to lose this ability to her own Familia member Bel, as opposed to family member, which Poseidon and Apollo technically were. Moving on though, the title of Virgin Goddess grants them both extreme resistance to the powers of other gods. In Danmachi, Hestia is one of the few individuals capable of resisting Freya's charm ability, while the original Hestia is also described as being immune to the powers of Aphrodite, another goddess of beauty like Freya. Yet in a discussion about the Hestia Familia, it is impossible to leave out the series' main character Bel Cranal. I won't go too in depth, but Bel has a few abilities that could be strong enough to do some serious damage, namely his Firebolt magic that can be cast instantly, his Argonaut ability that can charge his attacks, and Argo Vesta that combines the two together into his Hestia knife. Furthermore, he has the ability called Luck, which basically is just canonical plot armor. While other Familia members may not be a high enough level to do damage to a goddess, Mikoto's Futsuno Mitama, an extremely strong stalling gravity magic spell, Welf's magic swords, and Haruhime's level boost would be able to make up for where Hestia is lacking in attack power. With all that in mind, I give the edge in a battle to the Danmachi version of Hestia. Although her control over the divine flame is weaker than her mythological counterpart, it is also likely that because of their shared defense given to them as virgin goddesses, they would be mostly immune to the effects of each other's abilities involving the hearth. Hestia's divine perception could then play a role in assisting the Familia because she would more quickly identify she should send Bel in on the offensive to take down the original Hestia, who likely does not have defensive powers from the hearth to stop Bel from dealing serious damage with repeated Argonaut boosted firebolts. Overall, I would give a 4 out of 5 winning chance for the Danmachi Hestia. With a full set of flight gear and a snake-entwined caduceus, Hermes, the Greek messenger god of traveling, commerce, and thieves, looks pretty decked out compared to anime Hermes, who just looks like a guy wearing a hat. However, appearances can be deceiving though, which is something that these two are both quite good at. In Danmachi, Hermes is the one that keeps everyone else on their toes. A master manipulator who is no stranger to playing both sides, he most of the time appears laid back, while quietly sending out members of his Familia to gather information to blackmail people with, and as a result controls a large and expansive information network. However, in terms of actual abilities, Hermes himself really only has his wit, with no notable defensive or offensive abilities. Instead, that job falls to his medium-sized Familia, with the most notable members being Captain and Vice Captain Asviel Andromeda and Falgar Petros. Though Falgar is slightly stronger than Asvi in terms of pure combat strength, Asvi has a diverse set of skills and items at her disposal. Her ability called Mystery is used to make powerful magic items like Talaria, a set of winged sandals that grants her flight, Burst Oil, a throwing liquid weapon created from volcanic plants, and Hades' Head, granting her invisibility without taking energy from the wearer. With these two commanding the Familia, along with the deceptiveness of Hermes, they have a phenomenal matchup against almost any opponent. Keyword being almost, because the Greek version of Hermes also has many powers that may give the Hermes Familia trouble. He too is a trickster god who often will play multiple sides, but crucially he has more powers to back it up. As a messenger god, Hermes can fly at incredibly high speeds with his winged boots and helmet. His caduceus plays a part in his messenger and trickster role, being able to put people to sleep, which can either be used for the average godly criminal activity or used to deliver messages in people's dreams. Hermes also has a cloak of invisibility, likely the inspiration for Asvi's Hades' Head, as well as a gold sword that slew Argos the Many-Eyed Giant, and is also the sword that Perseus used to slay Medusa. Although the anime version of Hermes surpasses his mythological inspiration through extensive information networks, and can match flight and invisibility with Aspi's own, the original Greek Hermes would likely still win in a battle against the Hermes Familia. Aspi could potentially use burst oil as a way to attack Hermes when he is moving at high speeds, or attempt to coordinate the Familia to outposition him, but that still wouldn't address the powers asleep that the twin snake Caduceus has. Furthermore, Hermes would be able to use his golden sword while moving incredibly fast, which would likely overwhelm any defense that the Hermes Familia could muster. Without any major counters to this, I just don't see a way that they could deal enough DPS while the invisible Hermes zooms around at the speed of sound. Because of this, I give a 9 out of 10 advantage to the classical Hermes. The difference between Ganesha and Ganesha is simple. One wears an elephant mask because he wants to for some reason, and the other is forced to have an actual elephant head as a replacement for his original head that got cut off. Take your guess as to which one is which. So Ganesha is the Hindu god of success, wisdom, and the lord of obstacles, but in Danmachi his title is god of the masses. Because they aren't even the god of the same set of things, these two Ganeshas are almost nothing alike besides sharing the same name. In Danmachi, he really doesn't have any real powers other than being muscular and speaking loudly. His main ability, I am Ganesha, is a sound-based ability in which he states proudly, I am Ganesha, and it mysteriously grants him high charisma and intimidation bonus, which he uses to lead his Familia forward. The Ganesha Familia is likely the largest in Orario, with easily over 100 members, including over 11 level 5 adventurers. A couple that we have seen in the anime, like Iltafarna and Shakti Varma, are both very strong fighters, so the other level 5s are likely similar in power. Shakti also has the taming ability, part of the many other monster tamers that the Ganesha Familia has to show off in the yearly monster feria. Moving on to the Hindu version of Ganesha, who has a surprisingly diverse, powerful set of abilities. As the Lord of Obstacles, Ganesha is the one that clears obstacles away for people so that they can achieve success, but is also capable of placing obstacles in front of people that deserve it. Even though this generally refers to obstacles in a metaphorical sense, it is possible that Ganesha would be able to use this to break through magic and physical obstacles as well. A trait that this Ganesha does share with the Danmachi version is taming ability. He usually rides a mount of some kind, usually a giant rat, that represents an obstacle to people that Ganesha tamed and now rides. This rat is still very strong and can destroy crop fields and literally gnaw through any barrier. Furthermore, Ganesha is larger and stronger than he appears, as his head that was replaced would be large and heavy on his body because it's that of an elephant. The head itself is missing a tusk, which would seem like an indication of weakness, but it's actually because one time Chandra, the god of the moon, roasted Ganesha too hard, which made him so mad that he proceeded to break off his tusk and yeet it all the way to the moon so hard that it never fully recovered, which explains the moon phases and showcases Ganesha's physical strength. The fact that his head got replaced doesn't stop him from being very intelligent as a god of wisdom, and will be needed to guide his 2 extra arms that hold an axe in one hand and a noose in the other, all while taking information in from his third eye that grants him enhanced perception. With all that, although the Ganesha Familia would have the numbers advantage, I still give the edge to the Hindu Ganesha. The main advantage of outnumbering your enemy is the capability to outmaneuver and trap your opponent, which almost certainly wouldn't happen as Ganesha barrels around on a giant rat, crashing through any barrier that the Ganesha Familia could set up, and matches any monster brought out by the Danmachi Ganesha using his own taming ability. Even if one of the level 5 adventurers has some kind of extremely powerful attack that we don't know about, Ganesha could probably see it coming with his third eye and use his size and strength to take out adventurers with his axe, which would be difficult to counter as he can break any barrier. Overall, I give a 4 out of 5 advantage to the Hindu Ganesha. Last but not least, we have Freya, goddess of beauty and head of the strongest Familia in Orario that takes up residence in the Folkvang mansion, versus Freya, goddess of beauty, love, war, and magic, ruling over the domain Folkvanger, which receives half of all the souls that die in battle. As goddesses of beauty, they obviously are both very beautiful, even when compared with other gods. In Danmachi, this culminates in the extremely powerful charm ability, which Freya uses to charm literally anyone and anything, including the gods themselves, and is capable of covering the entire city of Orario. It also allows her to make people follow her orders, oof themselves, put them to sleep, and rewrite their memories, and on top of that has only been resisted by 2 individuals thus far, being Hestia and Belcranal. Both versions also have magic abilities to see what others cannot. In Norse mythology, Freya can use Satyr magic, used to see and influence the future, while in Danmachi, Freya possesses both the discerning eye and divine mirror, allowing her to see the colors of souls in any location in the entire world. However, because in Danmachi, Freya gave up power to descend to the lower world, the Norse version of Freya still retains a larger range of magic, as seeing her use of Satyr to alter the course of fate, to bring or cure illness, give good or bad luck, induce pain or injury, or win battles. Both Freyas can change their appearance, with the Norse version able to use magic for shape-shifting and the anime version able to use magic for disguising herself as other people. The mythological Freya has things that her anime counterpart does not, like the necklace Vernestine Amen, enhancing her magical abilities, a chariot pulled by 2 cats, a cloak of feathers enabling flight, a spear representing her status as goddess of war, and Hilda's Vini, a boar that accompanies her who also happens to be the hero Otar in disguise. Yes, Otar is going to fight himself, which brings me to the Freya Familia. Now the Freya Familia is the strongest in Orario for a reason, having over 100 members, many top-level adventurers, and Otar the longest-standing Familia member currently sitting at a staggering level 7. Naturally, his abilities are phenomenal, having the physical strength to overpower monsters with ease, unparalleled endurance, fast movement and reaction speed, and high defense. His skills with the sword are also phenomenal from his years of experience and from the Supreme Black Sword. He also has a magic called Hilda's Vini, a powerful magic spell that is named after the boar he was disguised as in the original mythology. On top of this, Otar is able to use Fauna Argantur, a form of beastification that increases his power even further while draining his stamina and mind, which isn't even a problem because of another ability short as Otar that heals his body and mind over time. The Freya Familia then also has multiple level 6 adventurers, including Alan Frommel, Hogni Ragnar, Hayden Selland, and more, all of whom have incredible physical strength and magical abilities. To top it all off, the Familia has a dedicated herbalist and healer group called I Can't Read That, keeping their fighting capability from lessening over a prolonged fight. To me, there are many unknowns that could easily sway this battle either way. On one hand, the Freya Familia clearly has the numbers advantage against the Norse Freya, but this could be somewhat mitigated by her chariot and cloak of feathers enabling her to fly and maintain a high vantage point. Freya's charm magic would likely be blocked by the other Freya's satyr magic, and Freya could hold off the effects of satyr with her charm magic. If the Danmachi Otar is able to defeat the other version of Otar quickly, then it would be increasingly difficult for Freya to defend herself against Otar and 100 other people trying to kill her. However, if Freya can use her magic to alter the outcome of the future, or use it to just see the future while fighting such that she beats literally every member of the Freya Familia one by one with her spear before Danmachi's Otar is even able to help, then she could definitely win. However, if the Freya Familia can unleash enough magical attacks before the effects of fate-altering magic take hold, then they could potentially win without Otar needing to beat his doppelganger first. It's tough to say, because after all, the powers of fictional characters are inherently vague and up for interpretation, but honestly I think changing the course of fate is kind of a cheap power, so I'm gonna give a 3 out of 5 advantage to the Danmachi Freya. And that concludes the Danmachi gods' fight against their mythological past versions of themselves. While Danmachi may not be an accurate depiction of the gods and goddesses, they still make for a banger anime. Of course, if you disagree with me on any of my verdicts on these matchups, then you, with your expert knowledge of Norse, Greek, Hindu, and Danmachi gods, may let me know why I'm a dumb crap idiot in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe. Come on, it's a great idea. It's rich, come on. And maybe there will be a part 2 with many more of the Danmachi Familias if there's a yeah, sure. That's it for today. I'll see you in the next video.